Hi everyone, it's Shruti from livingourascension.com. So in today's video, I'm going to be speaking to you about grace and what grace really is, what it looks like as we are going through a process of ascension, as we are going through a process of embodying our Christ consciousness, of enlightenment. What is grace really? Because there's lots of distorted ideas of it around. And so today, for those of you who are really actually on the path of physical ascension, in this new Aquarian age, on the new earth, how is it happening now? So I want to speak to you and perhaps, give you more insight into what that truly is. So if you would like to hear that, then please keep watching this video and subscribe to this channel, because I make videos like this all the time. And before we get into the topic, I want to tell you that below this video I have a couple of links for you to check out. The first one is about a new course that I have. It's called Embody the Fifth Dimensional Vibration, and it's a really beautiful ascension course. Essentially, it helps you to move into embodying the frequency of ascension. It's not just about speaking about it and knowing spiritual principles, but applying all of those different things. Just like in today's video, we're speaking about grace, and we want to get to the heart of what grace is, what it feels like in the body, what it looks like out there, and then you have to choose it in the physical, make choices in your everyday life in order for it to really land in your body. So that is how the actual process of ascension happens, is that we remember something, we remember a certain quality, these states essentially, and after we remember it, it's not just about knowing it, it's then about allowing it to integrate in the body and then choosing it in your daily life. So the course really takes you through all of that. And you'll also find other links. There's another course called Manifest Soulmate Relationships if you like to manifest and work with that energy. And there's also links to work with me at a personal level too. I'm just shooing away flies. Okay, so check out all of those below this video. And now I would like to get into the video. I'm a little bit distracted because there's this dragonfly that's sitting right there with its wings spread out. It's like sitting on a plant over there. So yeah. Okay, but what is grace and what is true grace essentially? That is going to be our video for today. So I have spoken about it a little bit in some other videos, but I just wanted to make a dedicated video to it and perhaps give you more deeper insight into this. So basically, the idea of grace, like how humans have envisioned it for so long, because enlightenment happened a certain way in previous centuries, and that was the need of the moment then. And now we are living in the new Aquarian age. We have already begun to enter it, like it's here. And we are living it, especially those of us who are going through the ascension process already in our bodies. We are basically serving the new Aquarian age, and the new Aquarian age is all about these new values, and just ascension and embodiment in the now, at this time in the earth's history, where lots and lots of people, the masses, are going through their ascension process. And it's not going to be just about one or two individuals like the Buddha or the Christ going through their enlightenment and embodying that. It's about lots and lots of people. So our service looks very different. How we serve as the Christ when we embody our Christ consciousness looks quite different too. So what is grace then? Along the way, somehow grace was attached to the idea of grace, that if you are enlightened, you basically never act out, like you are never feeling any lower emotions, or even if you are, it's like you will always act within integrity. And it's true that when we land the vibration of grace, which is one of the highest vibrations actually, it relates to that white flame that I was speaking about in my previous video. I'll link it up here, because we're going through those initiations now. But when we actually live within that white flame, within that grace, it's the highest level of integration. It's the highest level of harmony within us. There's different levels that happen along our path of ascension. Many people think that enlightenment is just one thing, but there's actually different levels to it, and there's different levels of union with ourselves, and it relates to union with the different dimensions that exist within, within the cosmos and essentially within you. So when you unite with those parts of yourself, then you become more and more whole, and then your consciousness and the remembrance of it, of your whole Christ consciousness essentially comes through, and you serve as the living Christ on the planet. Christ, Buddha, whatever you want to think of it as. But basically the way I like to call it is the new masters, the new masters that are serving on the new earth. Basically the Aquarian Age masters. And so there's a reason that the people, humans, like who are mainly in the third dimensional reality and serving that, they have attached these ideas of grace being something very external, essentially, where that, for example, even if you're going through something within yourself, you will always act in a harmonious way, in a way that never harms anyone, in a way that is always aligned and is never unbalanced. But true grace looks quite different, and today that's what we're speaking about. So the idea again, and before I tell you what that is, I'm going to give you just a little bit more about how it's been distorted. So basically, when we are going through the process of ascension or enlightenment in our physical body, what's happening is that our angelic self is landing. So when these different beings that existed on the planet before, they ascended, then they came back, then they are serving as ascended masters in order to show the planet, in order to show humanity how the human can sort of live their enlightenment. So that is the ascended master energy. And angelic energy is quite different in the sense that they haven't had physical form. It's almost like light. So it's like a light ray, like service from that ray, from that essence, and what that looks like. So it's slightly different, but they're both ascended beings, you see. And for both of these energies, like for both of these type of this consciousness, humans have somehow attached this grace, that is what the epitome of grace is. And it is like, if you think of an angel, it's just like a light being or whatever, there it is the epitome of grace. But you have to know that right now you are in a physical form. So light is one aspect, and then when light starts to move through the physical form, it moves quite differently. You are not only light, and angels are not better than you. Angels represent a certain light aspect of consciousness, but you have come here as light to move through physicality. So it's like that is what we call love, you can say, like the movement of the feminine, which is all about these cycles of death and rebirth. So that is the feminine aspect. So there's the light aspect, and then there's the darkness aspect. That's why I'm wearing this today. Like the black and white, they're equally sacred. And the aspect of the feminine has very deliberately been missed out, has been left out, of the way that we do religion, the way that we even do spirituality, a lot of it, in the consciousness of humanity for centuries. And now you're seeing the resurgence. It's coming back, and it's coming in a new way, and it's because it needs to happen in order for us to also tap into the true masculine, and then the uniting of the divine feminine and the divine masculine is what leads to the embodiment of our Christ consciousness, the embodiment of our grace, where we don't even feel like any gender. That is what grace is. It's like the union of all. It's the highest integration. So true grace just means that we live in that essence that we have within ourselves, embodied all of that, and we can't do that until we don't go through the more feminine side, the black side, which is the death side, which is embracing transformation, embracing this beautiful process of cycles, where something is alive and then it has to give way, it has to die and change form, essentially, because death doesn't really exist. So it's like surrender, let go, and allow yourself to change form. So when you're going through any cycles, you are going to experience some level of discomfort within you. And I'm going to give you examples of how, you know, even when people are acting out or whatever, it can still be within grace, because grace is not something that, you know, is steady and harmonious on the outside all the time in the way that we think. So let me give you some examples. So basically, grace, what can it look like in the form of a human? When a human has landed grace and they are acting from it, what does it look like? So for example, you know, there are people who go through the enlightenment process, the ascension process, who come from something that happened that's very traumatic in their lives. This is a lot of the times we go through something that is quite you know, that wakes us up basically within the dream to the truth. So let's say that your reality has been quite suppressed. Let's take an extreme example, like the example of someone who was, let's say, a woman who was sexually abused or something, right? So in her childhood she's been sexually abused, and so she doesn't know freedom. Like she thinks she has, as a child, she attached sorry, there's just like so many flies everywhere, flies and mosquitoes. It's like a whole jungle or something. But she attached like the, you know, the idea of love, that the only way that she can receive love, let's say a parent was abusing her, or an uncle, or someone, and she attached, you know, this idea of love, like there was some distortion playing out, like they said that, you know, I'm loving you in this way or whatever. So the idea of love, then receiving love, became that I need to give this, that, you know, my physical body is like trapped here, and I need to do certain things in order to please this person that I'm with, in order to get my needs met, you know, whether that's just having food or whatever, my survival needs. So you see the level of restriction that they are in. So from that perspective, what grace looks like can look like is like, let's say they break out of that, and finally they have ownership over their body, like somebody isn't like raping it, abusing it for the first time, and let's say that they want to express themselves in their own way, and perhaps what they get into is like, you know, showing their body a lot, you know, like not wearing too many clothes, or they're attracted to certain things. Let's say another person, for them it doesn't look like freedom in order to reveal their body too much. But for this person, it's very freeing. It's actually the appropriate thing to do, because for the first time, what's happening at an internal level is that for the first time they're able to have that free expression, that I have ownership over my body, and I can express myself the way that I want, you know. And part of it comes from what the reality that they have known, where they were at, and part of it comes from the breaking out of that and expressing, you know, their whatever they know. And I'm not saying that any of this is negative, and that is the point that I'm trying to make, that there is nothing that is negative on the earth. So if you have all of these judgments that, you know, women these days are showing their bodies too much, or like, I don't know, prostitutes or whoever is like a certain way, it may not be. It may be that for that person, that is the appropriate thing to do at that time. So they might be moving through. Grace essentially is moving within the stream of freedom. So I am here now, and then the steps that I'm taking, this step is leading to more freedom, so it's like freedom for me. Then when I fully embrace that next step, I can't jump from 0 to 10. So like if I'm at 0 right now, or 1, or whatever you want to think of it, I have to fully, first of all, accept that I'm at 1, and I have to be, instead of like bypassing that, I have to see what is here, embrace that, and then, you know, express myself and move into that higher expansion into number 2, which might look like a little bit more of freedom for me, from coming to that place of extreme torture and extreme restriction in the example that I gave you, where the girl was being physically abused. So you see how it's that flow within freedom. And then when they fully embrace, maybe let's say stage 2, let's say at a certain point in their life, they will feel like this no longer feels like freedom to me. And then, you know, perhaps something else is freedom to them, and they don't want to express themselves the same way, you know. So you can't say that somebody who's wearing more clothes, for example, is better off than somebody who is exposing themselves. That is not true. It's not about the outer actions. It is about what is going on at an internal level. It is, people are flowing through what is appropriate for them at that level. So grace is the flow of freedom. Grace is when the human within their human physical embodiment is able to choose in every stage of their life, that I recognize that this is my highest freedom in this moment. With whatever I have here, this is my highest freedom that I can claim. And then they take that one step and they allow for that freedom. They choose it in their life. So they're flowing within freedom, you see. And then again, they're like, oh, I have access to even more. So perhaps this is the authentic expression for me now. Then again, it's like, you see, and then it's that constant flow of freedom. And that is what grace truly is. You're integrating more parts of yourself and you're being authentic in the moment to you. There's lots of people out there, for example, if I'm using the same example, who are wearing many clothes or who have these sort of moral standards or whatever it is. They're not authentic though. They might not necessarily be authentic. You see, they're just living like somebody taught them that you do things in this outer way. You wear clothes, these type of clothes. You go to church or the temple every Monday or whatever, and then they're just doing that. It's not authentic to them necessarily. Whereas somebody else, they don't have a spiritual life, quote unquote. Let's say they're doing something that is looked down upon by society, but it's freedom for them. So that is still the flow of grace. And this, this has been kept from us very deliberately, because as long as you are sold this image, that an enlightened person looks like this, grace looks like this, that this is the perfect being. They are like a light being. Essentially, what is grace in humanity's mass consciousness? It's like the idea that they are the perfect, like, angelic being. They're like a light being. They never make mistakes. They're like an angel, and they can always give to other people. Like, they can be there for them unconditionally, holding love, and they never make any mistakes because they're just enlightened. And that's it. It's like this almost stillness that is there. Like, they're not really moving through life and having all of these more human experiences. It's almost like that, the feeling of it. So it's this neat little package, this one aspect that is being projected to you. And it's true that at a light level, this is what we become inside when we integrate with grace. We are an angelic being, and it is that silence, that stillness, that constancy, that integration. But you remember that if you were an angel, and let's say, like, when humans ascend and they change form, and at a later time in the earth's history or whatever, or the volunteer souls that have come here from these higher realms and they're now in physical bodies. So when you are a light being, at that time it is appropriate. Yes, you will be seeing everything from that whole perspective, because it's almost like you're an extension of light. You are light. You are much more aligned with that, what you are serving. But right now here, what we are asked to do, and our human embodiment, is about the flow of light within love, and that looks different. So don't forget this love aspect, this aspect of cycles, of death and rebirth, of constantly transforming. So basically, what does grace look like then for those who are on the path of ascension? If you are choosing to be within freedom, if you are recognizing that this is what I am, this is what I have around me now, and you're choosing your highest reality within that always, then that is the experience of constant freedom. The master knows how to create freedom, no matter how much restriction or whatever they see around, because you can't always control the mass reality, but you choose freedom within it. And you experience freedom inside, and you always, like you're making choices within that. So that is the experience of flow. And sometimes what's going to happen is that you are going to act out, because there's all kinds of things happening, you see. And I'll give you some examples. For example, when we are going through our process of ascension, I gave you the example that we go through different levels, there's just different levels in ascension. I can't speak about it in this video, it'll be too long. But in my own personal example, I was going through the one that I remember most strongly, where I was really feeling one energy a lot. and this was when I was integrating truth, when I was integrating my masculine, my higher masculine. It had to do with the I am presence, basically. So when I was integrating at that level, it's like, truth was landing within me at the highest level. And so when that masculine side of us, that light side of us lands, sometimes what's happening is that whatever we are integrating, it moves through us very strongly, and we will identify more with that one thing. So we may not be outwardly as balanced immediately, because there's a process of integration that happens. So again, there is an unfolding that happens. So if you're always expecting, if you've told yourself that I'm not going to do anything unless, I'm always acting within your idea of whatever balance and harmony is, that, if I can't overdo anything, even a little bit, then you're not taking any risks, you're not moving out of your comfort zone. And what happens is that, this is required. We're required to sort of just burst through. Like, think of it when a baby is born, or when a child is really small. They have this like high level of energy, and it's like, they want to put their hands in everything, and it's like when they cry, they go all out. When they laugh, they go all out. So it's like that. Whenever we are landing something new, we, first of all, the master allows death. They allow themselves to surrender when they see that something greater is needed, that freedom is no longer here in this moment. Then they allow that complete breakdown of the personality. Whatever is leaving is leaving. That's surrender. Then the next level is also embracing that new reality that they don't physically know in the body yet, that new level. So that will have a certain quality depending on which level you are integrating along your ascension process. So in this case, I was integrating the masculine. So when it first lands in the body, it takes some time for you to master it as well. It's not like, suddenly light comes through and even the integrating it, then it's done. You have to know how to work with it. It's like a new tool that has landed, that you have remembered. And then how are you going to move about in the world using it? You see, it's like your body has new energy. It has this even greater life force. So sometimes it feels like a lot. So how do you channel it right? So you have to play with that. You have to work with it. So, a being looking at it from the outside might say, wow, they're behaving this way or that way. Or it's like, my earring just fell. So, see, things are imperfect, but it's all fine. So as long as you embrace it and experience it within flow. And anybody like sort of looking at it from that more external lens might go, wow, she's behaving so masculine. It's like all about alignment with truth, or whatever they're seeing from it. And it's not within this balance of like the more feminine side too, the more magical, playful side too. It's not within balance. So this is not grace, an enlightened person or looks like this, like they're always within this. But that is the internal experience that I was having. And that is the internal experience that we have of always flowing within freedom. Allowing the death process seamlessly within surrender and flow, and then also allowing the new light to come in and not being able to even take risks, even make mistakes, so-called mistakes, and to allow that sort of experimentation phase and all of that. And when I was going through this integration of the more masculine side of me, this was a few years ago, I found that, I was cutting off more people because it had to be really alignment with truth, because I had to discover that. What does it look like? What does this side of me look like? What does it feel like? What is it to be in the I am presence? And so I remember cutting off people from my life because that felt in alignment at the time. And then later on, a few years later, it was different. Like I reconnected with some of them. And then the reconnection, of course, happened in a new way. Or perhaps, I'm not as close to them now because not all parts of them align with the whole of that I know about myself now. But the ones that do, that is within authenticity. They now know what I'm about, and I know what they're about, and we authentically can see that we can meet each other at this level, but maybe not at the level that we did before. And that's fine, because whatever we do create together feels authentic. It feels like love. It feels within co-creation. So it was necessary at the time to, let's say, cut people off and have this more sword, because truth and the masculine principle is related to this sword, right? Like cutting off and being within alignment and cutting off anything that is not truth. Another thing that I was doing at this time, when the more masculine side of me was coming through, was integrating within the body, was like people that I was attracted to, like men, I was sort of pursuing them rather than what feels more authentic to me. This is not true for every woman. Some women have more masculine energy as well, but for me it's more authentic to sort of be the one who is receiving, be the one who is pursued. I feel better that way. It feels natural, let's say, that way to me. But at that time, because the masculine was landing so strongly, that is all I knew. That is what my whole body was about. How much of work it is in the physical body when new light lands and you're integrating it. You have to change almost your whole life around sometimes, to land that essence through the physical choices that you make. That is the real ascension. That is real enlightenment. People think it's just this airy-fairy thing, and it's not. So basically at that time, because my whole thing was about that, was about being in this more masculine presence and knowing what it is to be this at this experience this level. So I was basically the one that was like sort of putting myself out there, perhaps even making the first move and all of those things, which later I discovered that's not fully me. But it was good to know that I can do that, anytime that I want, whether it's in my relationships or generally in life. So that side of me was finding a vent, was finding a way to flow. And I was playing with it, discovering in what ways it feels right, how it's coming through. And basically it just integrates that way through the experiences that we go through. So anybody who's watching you from the outside, they might tell you, this is not grace, this is not balance, this is not harmony. But grace is an internal thing. It's about like a flower opening up, that you're perfect at all levels, as long as you're allowing the blossoming and you don't have control about that. Then that is the experience of grace, of integration. So I hope that this video was helpful to you. I'm sorry I'm a little distracted today because there's just too many mosquitoes biting me, and so it's a little bit hard for me to stay focused. But I hope that this gave you some idea of just allowing yourself, first of all, to let go of this concept of that I am not a master, I am not enlightened, I am not really on the path because I cannot be graceful. And grace, like I said, is just smoothly allowing the death process, accepting what is here, allowing the transformation, letting go, surrender process, and then equally allowing the new light to come in. And then that feels like a lot of energy. Sometimes it's a bit excessive at first, but just allow that integration process to happen. The more that we accept what is happening as perfect within us, that is the most grace that we feel. And then other people outside also will feel it that way. But your focus is not on the outside and how it looks. It's about what is happening inside, and really it's about service. It's not, when we land within grace, this is the highest level of service. So it's like we are aligned with all of us. We are aligned with that primal fire within us. So we serve from that most core place. So it's all about service. It's not about how it looks on the outside. So yeah, I hope that this helped you. And on the new earth especially, we are not even playing these roles that, let's say, masters perhaps had to play in the past. Beings who were truly even going through their ascension process, enlightenment process in the past, perhaps they lived in ashrams and people were giving them donations, and that may have been right for that time. Because humans needed to see certain things. They perhaps needed to see more themes of that somebody can sacrifice for me, or that there is something beyond just service to the self. But now we have moved a step further, so we don't have to play those old roles. It's different now. A master is abundant. You see, you're supposed to have money, you're supposed to have power. It's all right to have those desires. First, we align with that at an internal level as well. So, it may not be so much physical, but you'll be feeling it in the physical things that you have. They'll be exactly what you wanted. So without wasting the resources of the earth, you will have precisely that exact, that quality thing that has the exact essence. It serves more than just one purpose. Whether it's the clothes you have, the things that you own, whatever it is. So you will feel abundant. You'll already start feeling abundant. And then as we keep growing and growing as well, then that more outer abundance in the way that humans know it also starts to come about. So yeah, so I don't want you to hold yourself back, because there's certain perceptions related to enlightenment about how, money related to self-mastery, grace, and all of those things, and basically how enlightened people are perfect and they're this light being that looks like an angel and behaves like an angel. It's about the landing of the angelic self within and the moving as that within the realms of death and transformation. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to stop talking now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out those links below this video that I spoke about, and subscribe to this channel if you're not subscribed, and give this video a thumbs up if you got some wisdom today. I will see you in my next video.